I'm the Reverend Allison Miller, and I have the privilege of serving the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship. We are a spiritually alive, radically inclusive, and justice-centered community that gathers to inspire, connect, and serve together in ways that lead to greater healing for ourselves, our neighbors, all beings, and our earth. We are grateful to participate in this collaborative summer, and we affirm that we are in this together.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Emily Bogus.
I'm Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner.
I'm Dr. Tuli Patel.
We are the leadership team
at the Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation, located
in Summit, New Jersey.
Our mission is to be radically inclusive,
to feed the human spirit,
and to heal the world.
We affirm
that we are
in this together.
I am Reverend Scott Samler Michael, he, him, his.
And I'm Reverend Anya Samler Michael, she, her, hers. And we are senior co-ministers at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Montclair. Grounded in faith, we come together to nurture the soul, inspire hope, and bring into being a more just and loving world.
And we affirm that we are all in this together.
Greetings from Lincroft, New Jersey. I am the Reverend Virginia Jaraka Ernst, co-minister at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Monmouth County.
And I am co-minister, the Reverend Craig Rubano. At UUCMC, our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world.
And we are in this together. We are indeed in this together, friends. It is my honor to light our chalice today. They say that no man is an island and no woman stands alone, yet we live inside our own skins, beautifully, particularly contained. We filter the world through our own experience, through rich and varied senses. At the same time, we cannot reach our own human potential alone. Need and love and connection calls us into something more. Seen, felt, connected, and related, that individual light expands. Held in community like a deep and wide communion cup, we gather together on holy ground to be made whole. May this flame and this chalice teach us how to love and be loved, and how to create real peace for one another.
Please join me in singing a chant by Linda Hirschhorn, Circle Round for Freedom. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Hi there. It's good to be with you again for another wisdom story, or as some of you might call it in your congregations, time for all ages. As a religious educator, I've told a lot of stories over the years. In fact, I tell the story most of the Sundays in our congregation, and I thought it might be fun to do some quick calculations. So let's see. Since I've worked at the congregation for 11 years, and I'm going to take out some vacation days, some time that I take off during the summer for a renewal, 52 weeks. Yep. Yes. I estimate that I've told about 364 stories on Sunday mornings. Now, I know my numbers are a little rough, but it sounds like to me that today is number 365. That's like telling one story a day for a whole year. Wow, that's a whole lot of wisdom. You might also find me doing a homily, a sermon, a chalice lighting, or leading our youth through one of our coming of age services or bridging. I do a lot of things in my role as religious educator, director of family ministry. At UUCMC, we have two ministers, Reverend Craig and Reverend Virginia. They're co-ministers, and they do a lot of sharing. And we're not shorthanded in the storytelling department. They're great storytellers. It's just that they're also great leaders. And they believe that ministry is meant to be shared. I've always believed that to be a good leader, you have to be able to share. But what is it that makes someone a good leader? Can anyone be a leader? Am I a leader? Are you a leader? Well, I went out and I went searching for answers. And I realized what I needed to do was to call some of our brightest and best people. Our beloved children and youth shared their thoughts, answering the questions, what is a leader? What qualities should leaders have? And do you know anyone that's a leader? Let's hear what they had to say.
Anytime I get to engage with our children and youth, I learn something. And so I asked them, what is a leader? The first child, age 10, told me that a leader is a person who helps a group of people get a job done. The leader does not have to do everything alone. They share the work and teach others. The next two kids I talked to, one age 4, told me that a leader is someone who leads a class or something. Another age 5 said that they have to lead to do stuff, and they have to tell you when they want you to do something. They say nice things. An 8-year-old in our congregation says, a leader is like hard to describe though, right? Yeah, it is hard to describe. She also says, someone who gives commands and leads people. Another child says, a leader is someone who tells others what to do, like a construction supervisor, to get things done. Like if you were building a house, a leader has to be a good friend and kind. They can't point at people and be mean. They have to be helpful. Age 9. A leader is someone who is trustworthy and leads a group towards a common purpose for the good of the whole. Age 13. A leader is someone you look up to and want to be like. A leader is bold, good, leads by example, and acts in the interests of others. Age 11. A leader is a person who speaks up and takes charge. They should be smart, dependable, responsible, strong, and respectful. Age 13. A leader is someone who gives others a path to follow. Age 16. This last image is a word cloud made up of some of the qualities that the kids felt like leaders should have that didn't get included in the quotes, and some of the people that the kids named as leaders in their lives. The very best part is most of the kids said that they were leaders. Indeed, you are leaders, my friends. You are leaders now, and you are our future leaders.
And there you have it. A leader understands the power of teamwork. Whenever people come together for a common purpose, a wealth of diverse talents and interests are forged. Each member of a staff team, of our boards and committees, all of our members, our children, our youth, all of the people who make up our congregations come with unique gifts. And it is these gifts that help us make our congregations succeed. Succeed in fulfilling that common purpose. I just want to reiterate that each person, including yourself, has a unique combination of talents and interest. A combination that no other can provide. And I just want to add 2 other points. That by combining your gifts with others, you are providing a powerful and diverse collection of talents and interests and energies that no solitary individual could provide. The ministry of a congregation belongs to us all. A good leader motivates and inspires people to engage with that vision, coaches and builds a team so that it is more effective in achieving what we set out to achieve and become. I am honored to be a part of this collaboration between our 4 congregations, another example of shared ministry and the talents of many for the good of the whole. May our ministries continue together.
Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arraígame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the of compassion blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Here in this precious time for reflection and prayer, we bring our joys and our sorrows. As these candles are lit, what are you carrying on your heart today? What burdens you and what lifts you up? What causes you to pause at the great mystery of this moment? There is a candle here for you and for all that is holy now. Spirit of life and love, as the summer sun shines on us all, may our communities be blessed by abundant love. May hope flourish because of our real relationships, by bonds created by truth-telling, accountability, and forgiveness. May this faith we carry forward into an uncertain future enable us to build a world of loving connection, person to person, community to community, revealing the good and making us whole. When we stumble and struggle, when life shatters our illusions of safety, may we find shelter in the sanctuary of one another. Amen.
I want to extend a special welcome to our sibling UU congregations, Montclair, Morristown, and Beacon in Summit. Let the generous impulse to share our services this summer inspire an invitation to all in our congregational communities to enter now into a time of generosity as spiritual practice. Hear these words by UU minister Tracy Springberry. Generosity is love in action. It is powerful and transformative. When we give, we create relationships. We extend ourselves and our values into the world. Using our life energy, we tie ourselves to organizations and people that matter to us, claiming them with our hearts and our time. When we claim them, they claim us, and we become connected. When we are generous, we say, people are not just individuals. We need each other. We say, more stuff and experiences are not the meaning of life, but relationships with others is the meaning of life. We say, we do not need more. Instead, we stand in gratitude before the bounty of the universe, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Our offering will now be received. Thank you for your gifts and blessings on you as givers. In Leaping to the Stars, a novel by David Gerald I was reading last week, a family's futuristic emigration to a far-flung star is set in motion by the relationship between the middle son, Charlie, and a human analog replication language intelligence engine, or HARLEY for short. Charlie and Harley get into philosophical discussions about the nature of human consciousness, whether the mechanical Harley can be considered sentient, and where, if anywhere, a line can be drawn between Harley and Charlie, other than a beginning letter C. Where is the answer to who am I located? What is it that Charlie represents that no one else does, including an incomprehensibly powerful machine? Charlie reasons that he isn't most essentially himself in his biographical particulars because throughout a series of wildly varied events in the past, he remains somehow constant. His so-called present happens too fast to even isolate. Who Charlie really is, it seems, may well be connected to the future, in what he is planning, in the commitments he makes to others. And what would you say a commitment is? Asks Harley. Charlie reasons that it has to do with entering into relationships with people, with collaborative promises, and with following through. Charlie then asks for the machine's definition of commitment and is surprised at its response. Commitment, Harley says, is the willingness to be uncomfortable. Because the first thing that happens after you make a commitment is that you get the opportunity to break it. Commitment is what you have to do after you take a stand. And commitment, the machine concedes, for all of the data synthesizing power Harley demonstrates, is something it does not possess. In the novel, at the heart of what is essentially human is the ongoing discomfort of commitment. Collaboration is a dangerous and human-defining thing. A little over a year ago, the Reverend Virginia Jaraka Ernst, UUCMC's settled minister of 10 years, had a vision of the future. Energized by the momentum in our religious faith movement toward dismantling the characteristics of white supremacy culture, She longed to enact what she described as a dream of ministry as partnership, breaking down the institutionalization of power wielding that she found so present in ministerial practice. Co-equal, co-ministry would more necessarily live out and model what congregational covenant ought to entail: a theological commitment to collectivize, to collaborate with integrity, and to compromise in the service of joint resolves to embrace multiplicity, to center the margins, and to immerse in the power of we. Reverend Virginia enlisted my participation in spreading power sideways, away from hierarchy, individualism, and defensiveness, and toward delegation, community, and a security in one's fallibility. She envisioned co-ministry to be her legacy gift, both to this congregation she loves and to UUism itself. She willingly split her salary and power in half in order to offer UUCMC something new. Two unrelated, very different ministers sharing one congregational position. And what a year it has been. As the title of our service today suggests, we have been in it together, in this co-ministry, blessedly, synergistically, and vitally uncomfortably together. Yes, co-ministry has brought home to me in new ways that comfort is not what ministry is about. Indeed, the strength of any covenantal accountability is directly proportional to a certain willingness to live into collaborative discomfort. For it is only when we are taken out of our comfort zones that we begin to plumb the depths of what the inherent worth and dignity of every person really means. The verb collaborate, and especially in noun form collaborator, has a dual meaning, and which definition comes first in the mind seems to depend on the context. In peacetime or functioning democracy, collaborator has the sense of working jointly on a project for a community, team playing. However, where the collective has taken a decided turn for the totalitarian or in wartime occupation, collaborator is synonymous with a person aiding the enemy, treason. That these two meanings, team player and traitor, lurk ever so close to one another signals the dangers alongside the great benefits of collaboration, always present when one puts oneself in the service of something greater than self-interest. True collaboration exists in tandem with risk. And in an age when systemic inequities are revealed to underlie collaborative practices, the presumed equal access to power that co-ministry might imply needs to be bolstered with intentional power ceding. Justice change may well require side-by-side solidarity, but activists have been shifting their language to reflect the concomitant perils that attend alliances across systemic fault lines. Whereas being an ally language did serve as a corrective to the savior forays in which dominant white culture folks had tended to engage in the past, ally is seen more and more as white-directed work in service to individuals in marginalized communities, leaving in place the underlying structures that lead to marginalization in the first place, including the decision-making agency at the heart of social justice initiatives. A new imperative in justice work is for dominant culture actors to follow the directives of marginalized primary stakeholders as co-conspirators. The term, like collaborators, containing within it the inherent hazards in contesting power. The concept of a co-conspiracy for racial justice is drawn from the example of the Underground Railroad, perhaps the first freedom movement in which people of different racialized identities and religious faiths worked together. Kim Smith of Digital Promise, in challenging her white colleagues to take purposeful actions following the lead of persons of color, reminds us that it was Harriet Tubman and the black conductors who knew the land, the strategies, the routes, and the signals to lead black people to freedom across the deep river waters of the Ohio. Along the path, Smith writes, white co-conspirators followed African American activists' lead by protecting, financing, and supporting them in deference to the ingenuity, skills, and talents of the conductors in providing blacks safe passage to the North. Co-conspiracy is an act of faith and a useful model for our shared ministries. It takes co-conspiratorial faith to be decentered from held authority, to join under the leadership of others who may well have cultural ways, beliefs, creedal imperatives, and/or ultimate allegiances very different from our own. And as a faith community, a Unitarian Universalist congregation is at its heart, on its best days, a gathering of co-conspirators in a project both larger than any one individual and inclusive of all. It remains my hope that co-ministry can serve as a living example of what true accountability requires, and can help lead us all in the purposeful actions we might take to serve causes of justice both inside and outside our congregational borders. Recognizing our lived limitations, speaking boldly on behalf of others, amplifying the stories of those whose voices are less heard, investing our time and resources strategically, and connecting as followers through collaborative acts of co-conspiracy, with a steady diet of forgiveness. Purposeful, committed action is disruptive action, and discomfort will no doubt follow. But we are engaging new, bold ways of moving forward into an always hazy future. A future, however, where, like Charlie and his machine friend, we may find our very best human selves.
When I found Unitarian Universalism in a library book as a teenager, so many years ago now, it was the fact that what I thought and felt could be a source of truth and meaning that blew my questioning mind. As a girl coming from a strict blue-collar German Catholic upbringing, so much of me was expected and trained to be submissive to others and to God. My purpose, they said, was to be a good wife and mother, to be obedient, to be silent and supportive of the dominating people and institutions that gave me life. Yet my budding feminist heart suspected there was more. There had to be a way that my voice of reason, my conscience, my truth could exist without predetermined suspicion and control. Do I need to be silenced so that you can thrive? Must my voice be dismissed because it is generated by someone young or female or whatever? You see, there's always a reason to be found to dismiss others. Race, gender, sexual orientation, class, looks, size, or the A students versus the solid B's and C's. You know all the made-up categories that make us feel better or worse than others. In all of them, I am found and lost, one dismissive judgment at a time. That searching child was just looking for her own eye, the undeniable dignity of her true self, which she suspected was always there. In that search, this faith offered an uncommon dignity in a brief paragraph of a comparative religions book in the Union Public Library. It would be years before I witnessed the principle in practice. Moving from a culture where communal needs are overshadowed by the individual's needs and identity to one that raised up the individual as worthy was freeing, to say the least. Back in the 70s and 80s, freedom was individually focused. Liberation as a powerful collective sacrifice was not yet on our horizon. Our tradition upheld the individual, their inherent worth and dignity, but was short-sighted when it came to our interdependence. It was certainly short-sighted about the ways we carry white supremacy culture into everything. Supremacy systems of all sorts were woven deep into our communal beliefs and practices. It is no surprise, then, that the 7 principles ratified by our Congregational Assembly in 1985, after years of congregation-wide process, are heard and understood as individual rights and responsibilities. The covenant that is articulated there is rarely viewed through a communal lens. I know I did not hear them that way until Paula Cole-Jones very recently pointed it out at a General Assembly workshop. As one of the authors of the proposed 8th principle, Paula Cole-Jones has opened our eyes to a fault line that runs through the original 7. Lacking that mutuality and accountability of love, they can be heard as being only about the individual. Love might be implied, but it's not explicit. They speak of my beliefs and my commitments rather than of ours, especially that communal commitment to creating beloved community that Dr. Martin Luther King spoke of often. Beloved is an interesting word, implying active love applied and received. What does it mean to beloved one another into wholeness? What wholeness is possible when our liberation is mutual and respect is between and among diverse communities and cultures? These principles are a guide for those of us who choose to join and participate in a UU religious community. We are, after all, a free assembly. We are each here by choice. But are we all really hearing the implied love within these principles and practicing that elusive beloving if we still harbor supremacy systems and beliefs? Can power over ever be undone by power with? As a faith tradition that grew up with and within the white supremacy built into the founding of this nation, we default to centering white culture and traditions. While the teenage me was trying hard to reach out of her culture toward a new freedom, aspiring toward Unitarian Universalism was possible because of my whiteness and all the privilege that had attached itself to me. I was allowed to learn UU culture and admitted because I could make myself appear to fit in. Had I been a person of color or a non-English speaker or a speaker of a different, less correct English, would that door have been open? The answer is in the stories of so many who have left when the cost of staying was too high. It is clear that not all experience the beloving that transforms lives the way I have in our congregations. The commitment to create that experience for others is the missing piece in the puzzle of our current principles. So let's try together to listen for the communal rather than the individual, the community-to-community covenant in these principles. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I am okay is the individual celebration, but you are okay too. You are worthy of love and dignity no matter what you have done and where you come from. It's a much tougher sell. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Here we get as close to love as possible without saying the word. But are we thinking about justice and equity for me or for others who have different cultures and traditions? Does our compassion extend beyond our own comfort? Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. It's pretty typical that we see when others need to grow. But usually we think, I'm just fine the way I am. What does a person have to do to fit in to UU culture, to feel accepted and see themselves here? A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Usually for me. We lean heavily on the freedom, but struggle to curtail our freedom to believe and do whatever we want for the sake of another's freedom. The right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Yes, you and I get a vote. But how is our democracy corrupted by the informal power dynamics within our congregations? How often is the in-group or the old guard inserting their control and not allowing a different leadership to flourish? The goal of world community with peace, justice, and liberty for all. It sounds good until we have to give something up. And seventh is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. This pillar of our faith, along with the respect for the inherent worth and dignity of the individual, should create a communal container for the beloved community. Unfortunately, too often it is used to pit people against the environment. And then there's the eighth principle, which, when fully incorporated, may emphasize that active beloving and the communal responsibility to decenter whiteness. It says journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. By our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. It is good news that a new process of revising the principles is now underway, and the task force leading the process includes those who saw that individualistic and unaccountable fault line in those familiar 7 principles. This anti-oppressive space of being beloved and beloving the real people who show up to our communities is the very place where true partnership and collaboration may yet blossom. The fact is, we need to uphold and dignify the individual so that they and we are strong enough and brave enough to do the hard work of creating partnerships. Collaboration is never one-sided. As we have learned about co-ministry, all involved have to freely want to share power and have to want to bring out the best in each other. We have to see the greater value of love, the fine and sticky substance that binds us to one another and to the world. Sharing power multiplies power and generates even more love. That love of self and others that we cannot thrive without is an active beloving. There is effort, there is shared responsibility, there is a willing sacrifice and giving voice to each other. It is a lifetime's work, but this I know. We are all worthy of it. You, yes, you are a worthy partner to our shared and unfolding dreams. May we make it so. May we make it so together. Amen and amen.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Thank you for joining us today in this fourth of 4 planned shared summer services. It has been more than a pleasure being together these weeks. It has brought us into relationship with one another, freshly connected in a web of care. As we extinguish our chalice for now, hear these words of benediction from Presbyterian minister and widely read author Frederick Buechner. The trouble with steeling yourself against the harshness of reality is that the same steel that secures your life against being destroyed secures your life also against being opened up and transformed by the holy power that life itself comes from. You can survive on your own. You can grow strong on your own. You can even prevail on your own. But you cannot become human on your own. Go in peace. Amen.
to the way